Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. It's time once again. It's our weekly Ask Wrestle Juice Anything You Want time question. We're going to dive into these questions here on the community tab. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, little notify bell, because I think sometimes it notifies you when there's a new community tab post. And that's where I post these QA threads. And then while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you don't like this particular video or one of my opinions, you can always take that like back. Save it for another day. Let's go ahead and hop into the questions because you have a lot of good ones once again. First up from Alyssa Leggett. What would WWE need to do to garner the positive overview people have of AEW? Is it even possible with all of the horrible things we know Vince and company have been part of and the way some/many workers have been treated? So I feel like there's kind of two separate answers to this question. One relates to their hardcore base, which is people like us who watch things like Wrestle Juice or Going in Raw, or they watch the Cultaholic or Wrestle Talk or Fightful or whatever. I feel like there's those people, and then there's like the rest of the bigger crowds that attend the shows, and how to get them to stop leaving WWE. Because I think they've been sort of falling off in both categories for a long time now because of the stuff that you're talking about. So when I think about the larger crowd, the people in the audience who bring their kids, who don't really get on wrestling Twitter, who aren't like paying attention to various dirt sheets or whatever, don't watch this, whatever. When I think about those people, I think about the larger things booking-wise that WWE can do to keep their fans happy. There's a lot of little things that I think people might not really realize are going on. For example, Legends Night. It's bizarre to me that WWE, one of the heaviest demos they have, at least with like NXT, but like overall, they do have an older crowd. People who have stuck by WWE for decades now. And yet when they have Legends Nights, they treat their legends largely like dog shit. So they'll bring in, I remember the last Legends Night, it was during pandemic. They just had Randy Orton going around punking people out. They just don't treat their legends all that great. When they bring them in, it's just to put them in a weird, odd backstage segment where they maybe get to say a punchline to a joke, or they have somebody like Randy Orton treat them like dog shit. And the older crowd's not going to be into that. They're going to be like, wait a second. I don't know, Mark Henry, for example. Like last time when Randy Orton, punked out Mark Henry, he went running to AEW, where they actually do treat legends really, really well. Like the way you should treat them. Integrating them into the stories. Allowing them to do certain things. Even like Jake the Snake. Like he's the manager. They use them in managerial roles. Like Tully Blanchard, Jake the Snake, Sting. They use their legends in a way that WWE just doesn't. And I think that's one way you can start, is by actually, for all the lip service they give for honoring their past on screen, they really don't do it that much. Another thing I thought of was this concept that if it's somebody's birthday or if they're in their hometown, they almost always lose matches or are made to look really bad just to get heat, whatever that even means. So like those things just deflate crowds. When you have these like goofy, corny comedy segments that just aren't funny and they're cheesy and they're obviously concocted by a couple of 60-plus-year-old men or a 75-year-old man, they're just not funny. Even if it makes the people backstage laugh, it's not gonna be entertaining. So I think that if you can just tell. You can just tell. And then there's the hardcore fans. There's people like us who will, watch and really want to pay attention to what's going on with the wrestlers' lives and follow them on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. And the Twitch thing, this is a matter of what, maybe like 10 WWE wrestlers who wanted to be on Twitch, making, in some cases, like in the case of Adam Cole, he's making like $300,000 a year or whatever. But like a lot of these wrestlers, like Ember Moon, I would visit her stream sometimes. She wasn't making that much money. AJ Styles, he was probably doing okay, but I don't think he was making money hand over fist. It was just an outlet for them to engage with their fans, with their audience. And WWE shut that down because of what reason, I don't know. Because apparently they were supposed to be working on their own Twitch rollout, and that never happened. So if you want a better perception of your company, you have to treat the people who are on your front lines better. And the presentation you present, your TV presentation, also has to be one that just leaves a positive feeling in the minds of your audience. And so often, like I go back to Hell in a Cell 2019 and that finish, and it was, to many people, anecdotally anyways, there were so many people who were like, oh yeah, I'm getting rid of the network now. I'm canceling the network. There's been so many times when just the booking has been really bizarre and dumb and corny, and like, why did Finn Balor collapsing on the turnbuckle? Why the hell would they do that? That just deflates a crowd and nobody goes home happy. So it's stuff like that. They don't think about making their audience happy necessarily. There are moments, Bianca Belair winning the Rumble and then winning at WrestleMania. They have their big moments, but they seem to forget about everything in between. In general, they just sort of go from big moment and then 3 months later they'll have another good big moment. But everything in between is really what matters. That's what keeps people around. So I think that, the Saudi Arabia stuff, I understand they're a company. They have to, their shareholders need to be compensated, I guess, and made happy. And that's a lot of money. And I don't necessarily blame them for doing that. But it's not a great look. It's not. So I think there's a lot of stuff big and small that they can do for a variety of their audience, because their audience is a variety of different sort of groups. Leandro asks, when Dave Meltzer breaks his own scale and rates a match more than 5 stars, do you agree? Is there a match that you think broke your scale? I think Omega versus Okada 1. He mentions here, Leandro mentions Omega Okada 4, which is probably their best match of them. But the first one, to me, was such like an evolution of pro wrestling that I think if anything should break a scale, it should be that. I understand a scale is supposed to go up to a certain amount. However, a scale is technically something that shouldn't be broken only if the laws of physics shouldn't be broken. You know what I mean? Like if I have, it's not like the actual mass and weight of a gallon of milk is going to fluctuate. That is a static thing. So I think a scale, when it comes to subjective, evolving, fictional wrestling bouts, I think that can either needs to be broken, or everything prior to it needs to be adjusted. And the easier thing to do for that is to adjust it, or extend it. So I kind of feel like a scale, it's not, in a technical sense, a scale, yeah, it shouldn't be broken. But in this case, because it's all subjective and things get better, should be broken. But yeah, no, Omega Okada number 1, that's probably the one that would break the scale for me. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. From Rotten. Says, who is your current favorite in-ring worker to watch, and why is it QT Marshall? It's not QT Marshall. It's never going to be QT Marshall. Rotten. My favorite current in-ring worker to watch is probably, I don't know. There's so many good ones. Roderick Strong's really good. Kyle O'Reilly's really good in the ring, but I don't care about either of those guys outside the ring. Matt Riddle. He's really phenomenal in the ring. Sheamus is really phenomenal in the ring. Kenny Omega is like probably my favorite actual wrestler to watch now that I think about it. It's probably Kenny. Yeah, Kenny's pretty high up there. Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's always really high up there for me. Daniel Bryan. It's probably, honestly, at this point, it's probably Daniel Bryan. It's Daniel Bryan or Adam Cole. One of those two. Let's see here. Who's your, there's no name attached to this person. Who's your favorite wrestler right now that perhaps doesn't get the overall love you feel they deserve? This person says Josh Alexander. That's a great name, by the way. Josh Alexander is terrific, and I hope he becomes the new Impact World Champion when he cashes in his option C. I think that'd be terrific. He is really good. Doesn't get the overall love I feel they deserve. Probably Ember Moon. Ember Moon. She is literally one of my favorite in-ring workers to watch. Like, she has never had a character that I've been interested in, but inside the ring, she is one of the most fundamentally sound wrestlers there is. Let's see here. Herman Oliveira. Herman Oliveira. Will you ever recognize that Christian has better footwork, ring psychology, and is a better worker than Edge? I'm not a wrestler, so I wouldn't know good footwork unless it was really, really bad, like Karrion Kross. I don't know really what that means. I've heard wrestlers say that Christian's a really good worker. I mean, he can have a good match, but like, I feel like Edge versus Randy Orton, that greatest match ever, was a pretty damn good match. And I feel like I've never seen Christian put on anything as good as that. So I'm going to say no to that. No to your question. Kosk, if AEW, even for 1 week, were to get the more overall viewers than Raw for Dynamite, what would be the ripple effect in the wrestling world? It would just be one more thing that would indicate the sort of slow sea change that we're seeing right now, where AEW is on a trajectory. So for maybe like 3 to 5 years from now, they very well could be beating Raw, maybe SmackDown, in the overall viewership. I think that's a possibility, but I think it's going to take a long time. This would be a bit like, what do they call it? A canary in a coal mine, or it sort of signals, this is happening. Jacob Montoya, and then I get all the Twitter people talking. Let's see here. Jacob Montoya, who are guys that you would have thought would be megastars? Somebody else down here has that same kind of question, and I forget the person's name, and I apologize. But basically, Austin Rung says, who's your biggest should have been big in wrestling? That's a pretty easy answer for me. It's Damian Sandow. I don't know why WWE didn't run with that guy like way more than they ever did. He had the failed cash in. That sucked. I thought he was terrific. Absolutely terrific. And it's funny because like in the WWE, he is sort of an example also of WWE characters oftentimes work way better than the same performer who doesn't have the same gimmick. Like oftentimes WWE characters really, really do hit. And I thought his, intellectual savior of the masses character was really good. And now Aaron Stevens, I think he's great, but I'm just nothing he does really hits me as much as Damian Sandow did. I thought he was a very WWE character. I thought he was I thought he was one that worked really well. I thought he was like, he could have been like a modern day Roddy Piper. I really feel that. And then they just didn't, he had several moments where he was like starting to really get over the crowd, and they just snatched it away, and I don't know why. It's so weird. Orlando Wright, as an executive, do you think Tony Khan takes too many shots at WWE? No, not really. I think that he's out there promoting his show, doing the best he can to get more eyeballs. I think he knows that to a degree, that kind of controversy does create cash. It does bring people over. It fires up the base, and that's what he's trying to do with Rampage this week versus SmackDown. He's trying to fire up the base. So no, I don't think he does too many. All right, friendos, that's going to do it for today. Be sure to keep an eye on that community tab for another QA thread probably next week, because I'm going to use some of the ones that I did today, and I'm filming 2 back-to-back. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, watch one of these other videos. We'll talk to you guys later.